we're taking the classic stuffed peppers, we're turning it into soup. On this side, we have mine with barley and lentils, and on this side, we have with the ground beef. So join us to see how we get these done. Hi, welcome back to One Dish, Two Ways. I'm Sheila, Joe's behind the camera, and it's stuffed pepper soup day. To me, this is easier than making stuffed peppers, and it's so easy to make it one dish, two ways. So before I get into our channel and what it's all about, let's show you what I got here. On this burner over here, I've got the Joe's started, and this has got hamburger in here. It's 1 pound of ground beef, and I've got it on like a medium heat, because this is a very high burner. And then in this pot, I've just got some water because I don't use oil, and I've got that ready to go so I can add the peppers. So the peppers we got this week were on sale, and they were massive ones. So between the two of us, we needed 4 peppers and 2 onions. So I went ahead and just chopped them all up together, and I'm just going to add half to each of them. So I ended up doing about 3 peppers because they were massive. So that's where I made the decision. I did one red, 1 yellow, and 1 green. So what's our channel all about? So I started eating a whole food or as close as I can to plant-based diet to cure my migraines a couple years ago. And we wanted to show people how easy it is to actually bring the two diets together. Joe eats standard, sometimes swayed towards the keto way. It's really not as hard as what a lot of people think it is. And so we show you sometimes it's one dish one way. In this case, it's one dish 2 ways. Now, we could have done the same base and then just added ground beef to Joe's, but he's been liking beef broth instead of veggie broth. And so that's why we're doing this separately today. So in this pot, like I said, I've got the ground beef and the onions and the bell peppers going. And then we're just going to build upon that. And then they're just going to need to simmer for 15 or 20 minutes till we get those peppers diced up. Now I'm using a recipe, and I will link the recipe for Joe's. I think it's called a keto stuffed pepper soup. They're all pretty much the same. And then mine is from Well Your World, which is one of my favorite whole food plant-based channels because they make easy recipes. So their recipe gives you the stovetop version, but you also have the version if you want to put it in the Instapot, which you know I love my Instapot, and there's sometimes that I do use the Instapot. Number one, it frees up the oven or the stovetop space. But here's another shortcut to all of this. You could use bagged frozen peppers and onions. That's not a problem. They just happen to be on sale this week, which was number one why we wanted to make this recipe, but number 2, that's why I use the fresh. I have been known to use the bell peppers that are frozen, or if I have an abundance of them and I've cut too many and we're not eating them as much as we really do. Some weeks, you know, you eat more than the others. I will just put them in a bag and throw them in the freezer for recipes like this. So let's keep building everything while our peppers and onions and ground beef are cooking over there. So we need to add some garlic. One of the recipes called for garlic, one did not. I'm adding garlic to both because why not? Garlic is delicious. This is from Joe's Garden. So I'm just using my mincer right here. So I'm just going to get about 3 cloves in for 3 cloves in for each pot. It's going to be so simple. So sometimes you can, and everybody does it different. You can use the fresh. You could also use what they call cheater garlic, and that's the stuff in the jar, and just use to your liking. If you want to use a couple tablespoons, go for it. I tried to get he and woman on here and just do all 3 at one time. But it worked. They were pretty small cloves, so I figured I could probably make that happen. Okay, so we've got our garlic in here. I'm going to get out the ick stuff to make it easier to clean. And then both are going to have broth. Joe's is going to have beef broth. Mine is going to have veggie broth. So I save my scraps after I do food prep, and I fill a gallon-sized bag, and it sits in the freezer. And once that bag is full, I put it in a pot or my Instapot, cover it with water, and then I cook it and make my own broth. It's super simple. Use whatever veggie scraps you want. This time I used some celery stalk, and so it got darker than it normally does, but it works. Doesn't matter. Use it all. Okay, so let's start putting more of our ingredients in. So let's start with our broth. So we've got Joe's beef broth here. Just the other day, didn't you put beef broth in your homemade chili and it made a difference? Okay. He shook his head yes. I don't know why he's not talking. He has a mic on. All right. So there's the broth for his. And then I need 2 cups of broth in mine. There we go. And then we both need a can of diced tomatoes. I couldn't find the salt-free this time. You never know. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. We got the diced tomatoes. And then his calls for tomato sauce. And mine does too, but I forgot to buy enough. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to substitute for that, because that's what you do. You adapt by what you have in the kitchen. That is not a problem. If you are baking, that's different. Baking, you need exact measurements. You don't need exact measurements a lot of times with all this. You just use what you have, and it'll turn out fine. As I've said before, you can always eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's not a problem. Okay, so we've got all that in there. Looking good. And now what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use a jar of pasta sauce. I needed 24, I forget how many ounces I needed, but this will do just as fine. And this is from Aldi, and it is an oil-free one, and we actually both like it. So that is why it's a good one. And I'm going to dump that in. Perfect. Now to add some seasoning. So it calls for Italian seasoning for both. And what I do is I make my own, what I call pizza seasoning. And the base of it is always Italian seasoning, but then I add garlic and onion powder. I've done a video on this before, and we like a little bit of spice, so I do add some crushed red pepper. And so that's what I'm going to add to this. I'm going to add 2 or 3 tablespoons. We really want to flavor this up. And then to mine, we also need to add, it calls for brown rice, but I like to cook my grains in bulk, and I made a big batch of cooked barley a couple months ago, and I bagged it into 2-cup portions, and now I can just take this from the fridge and add it to mine. And it's cooked barley, so I don't have to do anything with it. It can be partially frozen. That's not a problem because it's going to come in here and heat up. So let's stir mine around. And mine calls for lentils in place of the hamburger. So I need 2 cups of lentils. And I cooked lentils yesterday in my Instapot. You can also buy a jar of lentils that are already cooked. You definitely want to get them already cooked because they're not going to be in here long enough to cook. And tip, if you're still on the fence about lentils, I understand. I recommend you start with red lentils. Red lentils almost dissolve more than in case you're worried about the texture of them. The other option is I always cook my lentils a little more than what they say. So if the Instapot tells you to let it cool, let it naturally come out for 10 minutes and then you can do it. Sometimes I wait like 20 minutes just so I make sure that the lentils are done. So this is going to be one hearty stew, and this is what I am making for my lunches this week. So I am stoked about this. It's got everything I need, and that way in one bowl I have all my vegetables, I have my beans, and I have my grain. And it's going to taste delicious. And then I have time to go for a walk after I eat lunch and get out of the building. Sometimes you just need to take a break. So I'm going to get both of these up to a boil again. And then we're going to cover them and let them cook for 15 to 20 minutes. Now Joe's, because this is a keto one, there's no, like traditionally with a So I got mine up to high. I'm going to put yours back up. Traditionally with stuffed peppers, you take a beef and brown rice mixture with tomatoes and onions, and you pack all that mixture into your pepper cups, and then you bake them in the oven. And I remember as a kid, the first time we ever had that, we went to some friend's house on the military base, and I never had such a thing. And it wasn't that I didn't think the peppers were cooked enough. So when I saw that there was a way to do this where the peppers are in the soup and you're getting more of everything in every bite, I like that better. So I'm not sure, have I ever made us actually stuffed peppers? I think I've only ever done soup, right?
No, we've had friends make it, but we've never actually done them ourselves.
Because we like it more of the ratio of the peppers to the mixture by doing it this way. So we are going to let these things cook for 20 minutes. We're going to get the covers on them, and we'll be back to do a taste test. See you in a bit. Okay, the soup simmered for 20 minutes, and we are ready to go. Confession, I did go ahead and pull our bowls, and they're over here at the 20-minute mark, so that we could actually taste this and not burn everything inside of our mouth. So then I set a timer for 5 minutes. It's probably still going to be super hot. So I will say this, looking at these, and I know the reason why. Joe's didn't have any carbs. His is meat and veg. That's all it is, and spices. So to me, his is more soup-ish. To me, mine's more like a stew. Would you agree with that? So he does not like cauliflower, but that's a good substitute. If you wanted to add a veggie to it, you could also add some sort of squash. Later this week, we're trying a spaghetti squash recipe. So if it works, we'll be anxious to show that to you. So come on in, Joe. Let's give this a try. So, this is still super hot, but it's going to be perfect on this chilly night. The wind has been whipping here. Like, we didn't even try to do leaves. It would have just been, no, you wouldn't be able to do anything. My veggies still they're not mush. Are your veggies mush? No. They're good, but they're tender.
It needs, like she said, mine's more of a brothy soup. And it could be fine this way. You throw some crackers in there, which, yes, that puts some carbs in it, but, it doesn't take much to get this to kind of thicken up.
You could also use you could take less of the liquid.
Yeah.
Is another option. Flavor-wise, is it good?
It's you don't really, because the hamburger's in there, it kind of almost, and the Italian seasoning and everything kind of mimics chili powder kind of stuff. So it almost has a little bit of a chili texture to it. But yeah, I would definitely, we'll be eating this all week. I know that for sure.
This is good. Mine's good. And like I said, you could make it you can have it come together even easier if you used frozen vegetables. They even now have frozen brown rice in the freezer section. You could do cauliflower. You could do squash. You could do so many different things that you would want to do to change these up or use one or the other. You could use veggie broth in here. Did you want to try mine? The lentils and barley are tender, so I'm not sure he's even going to notice. Oh, you mixed the two?
The beans adds a little different texture to it, but it's fine.
Yeah.
I could eat probably either one. I wouldn't really super mind missing the meat on it, but.
So there you go. Stuffed pepper soup. Easy, economical, and makes a quick weeknight meal, especially if you just throw all the ingredients. As far as this one, you could throw that one in the Instapot, but I would cook the hamburger first. Then add all your ingredients and 5-10 minutes of pressure time. Obviously, it needs time to pressurize and depressurize. You could have dinner on the table, but while that's in there, you can be helping kids with homework, My Instant Pot's over there. That's why I keep pointing there. So there you go, guys. Let us know in the comments. Are you going to give this a try? And what other ingredients would you add to change one or both of these up? So thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.